Hello and welcome to Children's Literature. My name is Jenny Doke-Kerns. I'll be your professor for this semester, for this course. You have to forgive me, I've got some doggos in the background right now, and one of them has a cone of shame on. He just got fixed, so forgive me, I'm in my home office today. I just wanted to walk you through some of the basics of the course and welcome you. Um, our course is set up in 8 sections. So sometimes this course is taught in an 8 week um, uh, schedule. It's a 16-week schedule for this one. So what I've done is I've lengthened the time for that you have more time to do the work in each module. So every 2 weeks on a Wednesday. Now, the first one, of course, is open already because I didn't want you guys to be worried about where your information was. I wanted you to see it right away. But normally, every 2 weeks on a Wednesday, you will new course content will come out. You'll have another module with that with the assignments that you have coming up. So again, this one is ready to go for you on Monday because it's the first week, but the next one will come out for you on January 29th. So, a couple of things before we go into the first module's work. I did want to walk you through the course syllabus a little bit. It's incredibly important that you spend some time reading the syllabus. It is really, truly the kind of like the contract between teacher and student. And that way, you know exactly what I'm going to ask for from you, and you know what I can provide to you, and to make sure that I'm following procedures as well as possible. So, a couple of things at the beginning of the syllabus. First, it just kind of goes through what children's literature is and what what the objectives of the course are. The course competencies, we want to summarize the history of children's literature, apply theories of child development to texts, analyze elements of fiction, analyze elements of poetry, assess the value of and need for diversity and inclusion in children's literature, evaluate picture books, examine literary genres and identify children's books for each genre, design teaching or presentation strategies for a variety of children's literature, and adapt the projects to a variety of learning styles, and last, to evaluate First Amendment issues in regards to children's literature. So, your textbook, let me see if I've got a copy of it right here, is Through the Eyes of a Child. It is the 8th edition that we are using. And I believe there are options to get actually the physical textbook or the online textbook. So that's up to you, whatever you choose however you like to interact with your books. I'm going through here really quickly. There's information about how to contact me, including email, all that good stuff, phone number, and it also goes on to explain the structure of the course as well. So again, the 8 modules every 2 weeks, all that good stuff. If you go on, when you look at the grading criteria, basically you have three different categories of assignments that you'll do in the semester. You have your final, which is 10% of your grade. You have 4 major papers. These are listed here. You'll do a reflection essay on your own on the literature of your own childhood, which we will talk about in this first module. Reflection essay 2 deals with book ban controversies. Then you'll do a topical literature annotated bibliography later in the semester. That sounds kind of much more daunting than it really is. You're going to basically pick an issue or a theme and put together a collection of children's literature around that theme. So I've had students have a theme like environmentalism. These are all children's book about caring for the environment. Or it might be these are children's books about family, or these are children's books about loss, or something like that. So we'll talk lots about that as we get closer. And then you will do a young adult literature literary analysis, where you're going to be reading, in addition to your main textbook, you're going to pick out a children's or a young adult novel in the course of the semester, and you will need to read that too. You can just get it from the library if you don't want to purchase it. That's fine. You may have some around that you enjoy, like things like The Hate You Give. That's a good one. Assistant to the Villain is really big right now. Just there are lots of different really great options out there, and I'll share with you guys some lists of some of the more popular children's literature out there right now, especially in the young adult genre. So, and then the last bit is you will be doing basically the smaller assignments like the responses or discussion boards, or every time you read a chapter in the book, you're going to do a reflection on that as well. So those kind of all clump into that 40% of the grade. So 40% for those daily assignment or weekly assignments, 50% for your major papers, and 10% for your final. And then as you'll see that it just has the standard ABCD grading scale here as well. Now, one of the things that is really important is to make sure that you are staying on top of the coursework and paying attention to due dates. I have a very specific late work policy, and I'll walk you through that here. It's really important to make sure that you're on top of due dates, because it's very easy to get behind, and once you get behind, it gets so difficult to dig yourself back out. One thing also to make sure, I know a lot of students like to use Canvas and use the to-do list in Canvas. I try to make sure everything is listed in the to-do list, but unfortunately there are some assignments that's not an option for me to add those. So this is really important. The module is your guide for it is your to-do list. Okay, so make sure when you go into the module, there's always going to be at the beginning something that says here's the overview of what we're doing, and then within that module everything that you need in order to do that work will be listed below. So really important to watch those due dates. So your weekly stuff, that's like the reflections, the little things, all that good stuff. These assignments can be turned in late, but you will only receive 50% credit. These will be accepted for up to 2 weeks past the due date. And then after that, they're going to be cut off. You won't even have access to go in to make a submission at that point. But the larger main papers, like the annotated bibliography I told you about, the literature analysis, your 2 reflections, those will be accepted up to 5 days late, and you would lose 10% each day that those are late. So if you turned it in 1 day late, you would lose 10%. If you turned it in 2 days late, you would lose 20%. Just pretty basic stuff there. So probably similar to what a lot of other courses have for a late work policy. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. There is one note here that's important. The final, because it is the final and the end of the course, that cannot be turned in late. That does need to be turned in on time for you to receive credit for that. And the final is a requirement in the course. So, extra credit, that's another thing. There's going to be a little note in Module 1. Oh, this is Goose, by the way. There's going to be a note in Module 1 about how to get some extra credit. And what I want to do is I'd love to, it's so hard to connect with students when you're doing online stuff. So I want to offer you extra credit for setting up a 5-minute Zoom call with me. And I'll send the link, I'll do all the great stuff, but you just need to reach out, send me an email and say, hey, I would like to take you up on your offer of having a quick meeting. And then I can answer any questions you have, and we can just introduce ourselves. So that information will be in Module 1. And let's see, then it goes on with other things as well. It is important to know that the use of AI is not allowed in the content creation of the class. So for instance, that means anything that you turn in should be created by you. It's very easy, often easy to tell when things are being generated by AI. Most people don't speak or write the way that AI constructs sentences. So if there's ever a question about if you've used that, I will reach out to you and we will deal with that accordingly. So let me see really quickly here. Going on, just the last bit of the syllabus talks a lot about the different kinds of services that are available. If you have a disability or if you have had accommodations in the past, that's important to make sure that DMAC knows. If you have any questions about applying for accommodations, that's like if you have like a learning disability or say you needed extended time on tests or something like that. I've actually worked in the academic achievement centers on a couple of different campuses now, and have helped students traditionally to apply for those. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to be a resource for you there. But it does have the information about how to do that. And again, if you feel like you have been, if there's an anti-discrimination policy, and there are notes in here, if you feel like at any point in your experience at DMAC that something has not been right, there are spaces here where you can reach out to note that and get support and help. So that is the most of the syllabus. At the end, it's listing a lot of the assignments and the due dates. You won't, like I said, you won't have access to all the assignments right away. Those will be, again, released with the modules, but it kind of gives you an overview and an idea of the kind of things that you're going to be doing. So I'm getting down into today's, the first module, and let me bring that up here really quickly. If you're new to Canvas, it's a little clunky at the beginning, but I think you'll find it's actually pretty user-friendly once you get used to using it a little bit. So hopefully that will be the case for you. So again, the agenda for this module is, we want you to view this video, of course. Take some time with the syllabus. Definitely read through that. Make sure you understand exactly what the expectations are. And we're going to talk a little bit about, again, what is children's literature and why it's so important. And then and a little bit of, like I said, I already talked to you a little bit about the preview of the annotated bibliography, that you're going to be choosing 8 different books that, and these can be small children's books. They don't have to be like the large books like that. But 8 children's books about different issues or themes or things like that. So like, for instance, I have one, I actually got to meet this author. She was at a festival I was at, and she talks about how this is basically a children's book that celebrates diversity. It talks about how we're all different, and we all, kind of like different shades of chocolate. So just one way of doing that. So you'll find a lot of books with things like that. But again, other options can be, like I said, about family, or sometimes they're about loss. There are a lot of really good resources for young people that are going through a challenging time. So there are a lot of children's books about divorce or losing a parent, or wonderful things like having a new baby, or adoption, or all kinds of things like that. So, or going to school for the first time. So there are lots of different things that you can do with that. And what you'll end up doing, again, you'll get the specifics later, but you'll be writing basically a summary and then an analysis, just a short, think like a third to half a page for each one, putting those all together and evaluating them. So that is definitely coming up. And then your first reflection essay is also going to be due at the end of this module. And I'll again get in there for you in just a minute. So your major assignments is, you do also have a discussion board for you to go in and introduce yourselves to your peers. I have a list of literary terms that I'd like you to go out and look up. The directions are there as well. It's incredibly important that everything that you submit in the class is done in MLA style. That has everything from how to set up your paper formatting, how to cite sources when we get into those kinds of more elaborate papers, and just, things like double spacing, 12-point font, all that good stuff. So I do want you then also in this module, you'll read chapters 1 and 2 and complete a draft of that first reflection essay. And then we'll do a little bit with that also. Getting back out here really quick. Let me see here. Back into the module. So let's take a moment and talk about that reflection essay for a moment. All right. So the reflection essay is a chance for you to reflect on the literature of your childhood. And the due dates are the details are as follows. So it says, for this essay, you will identify and discuss important aspects of the literature you grew up on. Remember, this can include written pieces like books, poems, or plays, but can also include movies, video games, and television shows. So that's one thing too. When we are thinking about children's literature, it's not just literature that you find in a book, okay? Movies are a form of literature. Television shows are a form of literature. Um, songs can be, the words in songs can be a form of literature. So as you think back to the things that were really, really important to you, I know for my oldest son, he grew up on Pokemon and Star Wars like crazy. I mean, we had those books in the house a whole bunch. We had the uh, Captain Underpants books in my house a whole bunch. That was something that was very, very popular in my area. But so and I notice I also mentioned video games, and that's really, really important. This is something that it took me a while to come around to understanding how complex and how story driven many video games are. So when you say video games as literature, like a Tetris or something like that is not going to be, something like a Candy Crush or something. That's not a story driven game. But the elaborate storylines in so many of the video games that are popular definitely count as a form of literature. There are characters, there's conflict, there are things that are happening in the story, and the story develops as you go. So absolutely, that sounds like literature to me. So once you are thinking back on this, you're going to choose 3 pieces of literature that were important to your childhood, devoting a well developed paragraph to each. Your essay should also include an introduction and a conclusion. So that's your standard 5 paragraph essay. You want to identify the piece or the series and talk about when and how you first encountered it. What is it about this work or story or the characters or whatever it is that drew you in? And what lessons were you learning about life, relationships, and emotional development from these works? That's one thing that's really important in children's literature. Is so much of it is is providing something for children, teaching lessons, showing support. Sometimes it's nice to read a book and see yourself in it, or learn about something completely new that you had no idea about. So just kind of think about those questions as you're doing your reflection. And I would also say too, when you're looking in the book, chapter 1 has a lot of really, really good stuff about literature and how it interacts with young people. Oh, sorry, my dog is getting a little rowdy playing with the other one here. In chapter 1, I'm going to find this really quickly. There are a series very cool. I wish I'd had this when I was a parent. Very cool charts that lay out like literature for certain age groups or literature for certain developmental groups as well. So it's really, really important that use your book as a resource. I don't want it to just be one more thing you have to do, but this really should guide you as you're doing your own reflections and interacting with the children's literature that you choose in the course of the semester. So your first draft of the paper will be due on January 28th, and I will have you have that edited, and we'll talk about that more in the second module. And then the final draft will be due on the 11th of February. So just so you know that is definitely coming up. Again, don't forget, I've got lots and lots of MLA resources for you. There are also a couple of videos that you need to watch, giving you a little bit of the background of the importance of children's literature, and another how video games turn players into storytellers. So like I said, a lot of different things there going on, but again, you have 2 weeks to complete the module, so I think it's paced pretty nicely. As you can imagine, when this course is only 8 weeks long and we're still doing all this work, it gets pretty busy. So I really like teaching it in a 16-week schedule a lot better. I think you'll enjoy taking it in a 16-week schedule a lot more as well. So again, I welcome you to class. I know that was a lot of information all at once, just kind of If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I hope that you reach out and set up a quick hello with me online. And please let me know if you have any questions. Email anytime. I try to absolutely make sure that, especially during the week, that I get back to emails within 24 hours. On the weekends, it may take a little bit longer, but I try to get there pretty quickly. So if you have any questions, let me know. Again, welcome to class. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful semester. Thank you.